Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live. Good morning, good afternoon, time appropriate salutations to all of our international friends. My name is Voodoo Val, and I am here to host a fabulous stream with my new buddy, Brittney. Brittney, how are you this morning?
Good. I am so excited to be here. And I feel like you're the best at starting these videos off and doing introductions, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. I have a blast, especially when I'm in great company. We are super pumped. We have been just talking about this behind the scenes, folks. Very excited to dive into what we have planned for you today. And I would love to pass it over to you, Brittney, if you would love to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and maybe explain what we're going to be diving into for the morning.
For sure. Thank you so much. So I actually put together a little presentation for you guys too, because I feel like it's nice to have that visual piece. And I feel like for all of us, I know I'm that kind of person as well. So my name is Brittney Megann. I'm the CEO and head socialista of Socials and Stilettos. We are a boutique style social media marketing and PR agency based in Toronto. And we really do service beauty, fashion, and lifestyle brands worldwide. So when we were kind of talking about this Adobe stream, I knew coming into this that I really see throughout the space a lot of people struggling when it comes to creating graphics, creating designs for Instagram, specifically stories, and kind of leaving space on how to utilize the stickers and all of the different features that Instagram stories has to offer. And a better way to put this is really creating more mindful Instagram stories. So I know I'm going to be here with you, Val, today and tomorrow, which is really exciting because we've really broken down different ways that you can really stop the scroll and create more engaging and meaningful connections while still boosting conversions through Instagram stories. So yeah, is this where I should go into content day one plan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
This is like, and this
Sounds
is
good.
so right, like down the alley of things I am excited to learn. So I can't wait to like kind of suck up the knowledge today. It's gonna be dope.
It's going to be so good. I am so excited to kind of share all sorts of juicy tips and tricks with you all. And today we're really going to be focusing on the basics, which, let's be honest, we all want to win brownie points with the algorithm. And this is where really creating engagement boosting Instagram stories is going to come up. So with that being said, this is just an idea for you all to take a look at. Whether we're talking about this and that, I feel like that's something really popular we see on Instagram when we're scrolling. For us, we do this and that, designer stilettos on our Instagram, and everybody loves that. Whether it be countdowns or questions of the day, and yeah, just really getting into the basis of creating more engaging Instagram stories.
Yeah, I love it. I love just like the whole kind of layout and stuff that you have in a lot of your preview images. And I feel like I know it's going to be great because looking even at the template images that you've shown, I feel like I understand more about how I'm going to create stories in the future just from glancing at that. So I'm pumped. Also, we do have a link in the description below if any of you are interested, where you can remix Brittney's template. So you can check that out after the stream, or heck, you can open it up right now and you can tinker around with it while we dive into what we're doing. So yeah, I see we're in Adobe Express now. So what comes next, Brittney?
For sure. So I feel like Adobe and Express in itself is such a cool platform because I'll be the first to say I am not a designer. And I feel like everybody on my team knows this. And this platform really allows you to create graphics that are easy to kind of navigate and don't feel super overwhelming. I know for somebody like myself who isn't super tech savvy, this platform has been something for me that has been so much fun to play around with. So with that being said, when we get in here, we're really going to start getting into, creating an Instagram story. What I personally love to start with is making sure that you have all of your brand assets uploaded. So for us, it's logos, colors, your fonts if needed. These are all things that you're going to want to make sure that you have beforehand, especially if you are more of a business brand like ourselves, in the sense that you really do have some sort of identity that's already been put together and something that you want to follow to keep things consistent on your socials. I'm going to pull up our Instagram for a second just so that you can see what I mean.
Oh,
Everything
yeah.
is very like aesthetically put together, and that's what we really want to carry over to stories as well. So with that being said, make sure that this is uploaded because it's going to make your life way easier, and you're not going to be pulling your hex codes while you're in the middle of trying to design a graphic. And
Yes.
for
Yes.
me, the flow is everything. I don't know about you, Val, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in the flow, the last thing I want to do is like go searching and digging somewhere for my font files or hex codes. It's not fun.
I agree. I think whether you are a designer or a non-designer utilizing Adobe Express or Illustrator or Painter or whatever, if you get all of your assets together and you don't have to worry about that, the rest just flows as far as imagination and creativity. You know, you get that stuff
Yeah.
in and then you can just kind of run wild with the design side of things. So I
For
agree.
sure. 100%. And just makes things easier. Like we're all about simplicity over here. And I think that we can all agree that when things are simplified, it's easier to stay in that creative flow, and nothing's
Mm,
worse than like being like in and out of that kind of creative moment. So
yeah.
from there, once all of your brand stuff is uploaded, then what I would really do is go into create a new project. And for us, since we're in Instagram stories, we're going to click Instagram stories. And just like that, the sizing and everything is already laid out for you, which is what I love because
Mm.
you're not sitting there trying to Google recent updated sizing for different platforms and things like that, which is always great. And we have really a blank project to really start working with. So from here, basing off of what our intention is for today, we're going to be talking about engagement boosting stories. So really, when we are looking at any type of engagement boosting story, we want to keep in mind things like what buttons and stickers are we going to be using from Instagram itself? Because a lot of the times what ends up happening is you create this beautiful graphic, but there's nowhere left to put the stickers and buttons, whether that be the countdown button on Instagram or a questions box. And you end up covering important pieces of your graphic, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than getting on Instagram, trying to upload something and then having to take that backwards kind of step or
Mm-hmm.
realizing that what you've created doesn't work.
Yep.
So in this case, I think we're going to be going with a question of the day template. This is something that I really love using with our audience, especially when we feel a little disconnected. If it's been a little while since we've done a live or have really like stepped into intentional engagement with our audience, then what I personally love doing is creating something that encourages conversation. And the questions box sticker on Instagram is so perfect for that. So now that we kind of know what we're going to be doing, what I would probably do is create some sort of shape using the shapes button here on Adobe Express and really duplicate what the questions box sticker is going to look like.
Okay.
And where that way you kind of have it and you know what you're working around, right? I think that's the most important thing. So for me, I probably would go in and look at rectangle because we know that the box is kind of rectangular. Can I spell rectangle? Rectangle?
I think there you go.
Rectangle. Like,
Yeah.
that's where like my kindergarten spelling is coming out right
Honestly,
now.
nothing like a live stream to make you question
sure.
whether you know how to spell or not. So
It's
I've been
so
there.
true.
We've all been there.
So funny. But once you find that, and I would really pick something that duplicates the kind of same shape that you're going to be seeing on Instagram when you click that questions box. And it really does look like this. I mean, I think the only difference is that you're going to have a little almost like circle that goes around here that kind of looks like your profile picture.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry about like duplicating the exact same shape. I think as long as you have a really good basis to kind of work with, that's what I would kind of focus on. So now that we have that, I think this is pretty it resembles it pretty well, in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and shrink that down because we're not going to have the questions box taking up the whole screen. And then we have our questions box there, right? So now let's think about what the question we're going to ask our audience is. I think in this case for us, it might be, what was your plans over the weekend? Thinking of questions that don't really leave your audience sitting there questioning how they're going to answer. It almost has to be something that is a little simpler to answer and something that you can kind of just think of on the spot. So asking somebody like, what are your goals for this month? Well, somebody's going to be sitting there thinking so hard about what their goals are before they actually answer the questions box. And it kind of takes away that intention of what we're trying to do by making something easy to kind of boost engagement. And that's why for me, I always really look at simplifying questions so that it does encourage more of an answer. And the cool thing about Instagram stories is that when somebody does answer your questions box, it kind of signals the algorithm saying that you guys are friends and that they want to see more of your content, which is a really good little tip to keep in mind.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Okay.
Yeah. So what I would do from here is I would pick something like maybe that would resemble, again, you want to keep in mind your branding. For us, it really wouldn't make sense to put a picture of somebody hiking because that's not really in alignment with our brand. But maybe if I picked something like shopping, and you can always browse the stock library here is great for that if you're looking for something to kind of just put in the background or to keep it fun and just easy. And again, take away that whole pressure of needing to go out and find the perfect image and all the things. I think sometimes we get too wrapped up in that. So this one is really on brand for us, I feel like. Don't you think, Val, knowing our brand?
Yes. I was just thinking like that one looks like it already belongs on your Instagram feed. So exactly. Yes, I agree.
Exactly. So keeping that in mind when you are picking images, and we'll really make this one a little bigger. I'm going to utilize the fact that there is a lot of empty kind of blank space in this image. And when you are looking for images, I think that's important to keep in mind because you don't want something that doesn't give you any space to work with. So whenever we have a photo of a person like this, something I love doing is kind of imagining a straight line through their body and using that as the side border of your Instagram story. Something like this, I feel like it looks fun. And again, it's just a really easy way to bring a photo into the mix and not have to worry about it overpowering the question or what we're kind of trying to achieve from the graphic. Yeah. So I'm going to pull this box forward in my layers. And that's a little trick here, which I love is the layers here, seeing them, because I think it's really easy to see what you have going on. And if there are pieces that you've forgotten and they're kind of hidden under there, just getting rid of those is always a good one. So what we'll do is I'm going to pull one of our brand colors. You can see them over here, which is already great. We already set those up in the brands section and logos. So you can just pull those right in, and we're again resembling that questions box. So I'm maybe going to put it
great color too.
Here. Yeah. Like again, don't forget this questions box is going to be hidden, right? So it's kind of more of a visual cue for us when we're designing that don't forget something's going to go there, leave space for that, which is always great.
Also, we've got some folks typing in the chat this morning. Nicole Tanon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, always trying to be on the algorithm's good side. Really appreciating the tips that you're giving about struggling to find what you're working with as you design. So it's kind of setting up that brand. Yes. And yeah, Lindsay also saying forever needing all the tips on how to hack the Instagram algorithm. And when we were searching for rectangles, Oliver suggested long square.
Okay.
Long square, which I guess technically a rectangle is a long square. So thank you for your help, Oliver. But yeah, continue because I'm really excited about what you are explaining.
That's so exciting. And I feel like I really appreciate that tip, Oliver, because I think sometimes we get so caught up on one word and then are searching that and can't quite find what you are trying to look for. So remembering to play around with the wording when you are looking for different shapes is a really good pointer. So thank you there. So what we'll do is this pink actually works so good with the background.
Yes, I agree.
I'm living for this. This is a good one. So I pulled in a text box and we're going to think about what the question is that we really want to ask. So again, in this case, we're going to be asking, what did you do over the weekend? Or what was one fun and exciting thing that you did over the weekend? Again, keeping your questions simplified is the key when creating these kinds of engagement boosting stories. So what we'll do here is put our question in, backing it up. What did you do? We'll just say, what did you do over the weekends?
I
What
think
did you
that's good. And
Yeah,
I was going to ask too, like, when we create these, what is a good question to ask? Because that kind of goes into the design process too, of like, you really don't want it to be too wordy. You want it to be something
exactly.
short, sweet, to the point for the enjoyment of your viewer, but also for the dynamic nature of creating a nice design.
It's
Um,
so true. It's so true. And I feel like this is where really understanding your target audience is so important because
mhm.
you might have an audience that is going to look at this question and be like, girl, this is not the question to be asking me. Whereas, like, maybe, you know what I mean, though?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
for us, like, can you imagine, like, I have an audience that doesn't care about fashion altogether whatsoever, and I ask, what's your favorite designer fashion label? Then they're going to
Hmm.
be looking at it like
What?
that's not it, and it's not
Yeah.
going to connect with your audience. But let's say in Val's case, if you go to her Instagram, it is so bomb, by the way, Val.
Thank you.
I feel like for you asking your audience, like something along the lines of, I don't know for you if it's, I know you were talking about the show that you were watching.
American Horror Story
There we
Coven,
go.
or like some Star Wars questions, that would be along
Exactly.
my lines.
Exactly. So asking something that kind of relates to your audience that again, they're not going to look at when you post it and think that's such a random weird question that
Hmm.
I don't really know how to answer, but is going to encourage that kind of conversation with them is so important for sure. So, and yes, with not being too wordy, because I feel like it's something for me I am guilty of. Extra is my middle name. And I say
Hmm.
that proudly. And that means that I love to add extra words where they're not needed. So sometimes I gotta take it back a few steps for sure.
I'm the
So
same. I get excited and then I'm like, am I being too extra? Am I being over the
yes,
top? I think maybe I need to dial it back.
it's so true. Sometimes you just gotta remember, like again, the simpler the better. And
Hmm.
you want it to be something that people are going to see and just be encouraged to engage with, right?
Hmm.
And not feel overwhelmed by, which is important. So now that we kind of got our question there, what I love is going into our logos. And you can see I've already imported these. I already can't even say enough how
Hmm.
important it is to already import your brand assets because it just makes things so much easier. But one thing that I love and something that we love doing here at Socials and Stilettos is creating versions of our logos that are in like a circular form because it just makes for so much fun when you do add them as little kind of
Oh
pops coming
yeah.
out the side, right? So
Yeah.
just take this right in the corner here. We can make it a little big and add a little pop of something. Do you see how it just completely changed the graphic, elevated it? You can play around with what side you think. Maybe we can
Hmm.
ask the viewers, do they prefer here on the left side or the right side? What do you feel like is
Yeah. Let us
peaking
know,
their idea?
folks. Let us know if you like on the left or on the right. And I have to say, I think I really admire your choice of like the photo and the clever placement and everything, because on top of having your brand organized so perfectly so that already we are seeing like a really nice, powerful image and design here, I feel like the way you're positioning things also for me, the viewer, makes me feel like there's more off the canvas. It's not
Yes.
like an isolated tiny window. It's like you're seeing something, but there's so much more in store. And it almost makes me more excited, even though it's just a Instagram story, if that makes sense.
Yes. A
You
hundred
kind
percent.
like, what does the rest of her outfit look like, girl?
I
I don't
know.
know.
It's like it leaves you wondering, right? And I
Hmm.
think that a lot of people, they really do think that, okay, I have this tiny canvas to work with. Let me make sure everything is just inside this little square and really making sure that you're utilizing like off canvas space, if that makes sense. So we
Yeah.
have this logo that isn't fully on canvas, but it's like a little peekaboo. We love a good peekaboo
Oh
moment.
yeah.
And I feel like it's a fun way to utilize your assets for sure. So
It
yeah,
also looks like everyone is saying left side for the logo, and I think I agree. I do think I
yes,
agree. I think it balances it nicely.
for sure. And I'm so happy that you picked that because it was already there. Amazing. So now that we got our question, we've got our questions box. What's a really good way to bring our viewers' attention into the fact that there is going to be a questions box here why don't we add a little arrow, right? So we really
Ooh.
direct their attention over there. And this is where I would really go into shapes again and type in arrow. And all these different arrows come up, which is great. I
And they're so
personally love.
cute. They're
They
so cute.
are. They are. And I love that. Something that I love about Adobe Express, because you don't really see this across any other platform, is the fact that you can really control, didn't mean to do that, control the weight of the actual arrow. That's not something that's customizable in a lot of other platforms. So I find that really unique about Adobe Express.
Yeah,
So in
yeah.
this case, like we could really make this as thick as we wanted to or as narrow as we wanted to. And depending on your branding, if you are somebody who, let's say, does have more of a dainty, elegant kind of feel, maybe you're going to be on the thinner side. Or if you want something that does really like pop, then maybe we'll look at something a little tiny bit thicker, right? And
Yeah.
something that's a little bit more bold, as they say. And for this, maybe I'm going to use my orange color because it gives that pop and it really does redirect our attention to that questions box. And remember when you're doing this, that you don't want this arrow to be on top of the questions box here because this is going to be covered. So what's going to happen is when you get into the platform, you're going to see that the questions box is covering your arrow and then you're going to be back in Adobe Express trying to fix it. So just remember, leave yourself that room and make sure that when you are kind of putting your elements, your arrows, your little spice on what you're doing, that you are kind of leaving that space to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I just to reiterate your point of how wonderful it is that you can change the weights on those arrows. That is one of, in my opinion, one of my most favorite things about Adobe Express is that when you're designing in other programs, you might find yourself like a transparent PNG of an arrow, but there's so many steps you have to go through to make it perfect for your design. Here, like so much is customizable and perfect, and you can make something perfect for you in Express. And I love it.
That is so perfect and such a good way of putting it too, Val, because I feel like that's exactly the thing. And I said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not a designer, and look how little time it's taken to already create this graphic. And we could keep adding to it if we really wanted to. Like, I mean, I think even looking at our logos and seeing, is there another logo that we can put up here? I feel like there's a way to be intentional with your logos. And I think sometimes it's easy to get carried away. But when you're using a lot of different styles of logos, like this one here is more of almost like an accent versus it being, I wouldn't use something that's like socials and stilettos, socials and stilettos, socials and stilettos over here. But making sure that you're kind of being a little bit intentional, like this one up here is such a good way. And I always add them towards remembering the border. So don't forget when somebody's viewing your story is that essentially your username is going to be here. There's going to be a typing box right here for answering, replying to the story. So keeping in mind, you're not going to put things where their box is going to kind of be interrupting it, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't be putting my question too far up here because then it's going to be cut off by Instagram stories, canvas itself, or too low. Or putting your questions box. Another thing, this is a really cool hack, and I feel like everybody's going to scream in the audience when they hear this.
Oh yeah, let's hear it. I'm ready for it.
So if you think about where you're kind of tapping when you're scrolling through, I guess you could say tapping through stories, it's always on the right side. So a little hack trick is keeping your questions box to the right side if you wanted to, because then they'll accidentally hit to reply and they'll be kind of already in that space of it, stop the scroll, and that kind of like mindless engaging on Instagram, I like to call it, where we're just really kind of there. We're not really thinking about what we're doing. We're just tapping the buttons, doing the actions, kind of makes them stop and think about that for a second. So keep that in mind too. That's another trick that you can kind of play around with on the side over here, is just anytime you're using some sort of link sticker, engagement bubble, anything like that, this side is going to be your best friend. Although I did say that today.
That is actually a really great tip. And I am screaming internally, but I won't scream into the mic. But number one, I feel like I'm going to do that all the time now. And number two, I feel like I've been tricked because I can't tell you how many times I've actually done that on somebody's post. And then I'm in the replies and I'm like, I didn't mean to do that, but you know what? I'll leave like some flame emojis or I'll leave some hearts. I'll do it. Yeah, sure.
It's so funny. It's the little things. And honestly, like that's why it's so important to really understand when you're creating graphics for any platform, the
Mhm.
way that the platform works and the way that users interact on the platform and the motions that we go through, because then you can really take those and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Knowing your platform and understanding not just what you want out of it, but what, other people come to the platform for and how they use it, is going to even boost more strength into your strategy, I would say, your
For
Instagram
sure.
strategy.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Now, I feel like there is so many other things that we really could do to keep boosting this graphic and making it even more funner. I think one of the other buttons that I really love is this effects. And if you turn on the shape to really highlight the
Mm,
question as well.
hmm.
And this is something that you can, again, pull from your brand colors and look at that just by
Love
two
it.
clicks of a button. We were
Yep.
able to like really bold that question out and make it something that people are going to see, but and not kind of just like skip over, get lost in the background, because let's be honest, we got a lot of pink going on here.
Hmm.
It's easy for them to kind of fall into one another. So using that button there, the shape button, is something that I feel like is such a game changer when you do kind of find the button and want to use it. And you can always
Hmm.
play around with how bold you want the text to be, like the color, if you want it to be a
Yeah,
little lighter, a little heavier. There's just so many things that you can do. And I feel
I
like,
agree.
yeah,
I think it has come together so nicely, and I hate to cut you off, but we do have to take off. I can't believe we're already at the end of our stream. But it looks like everybody in the chat is just so thrilled to have been able to learn from you today. I know I learned stuff from you as well that I'm thrilled to implement into my own branding strategy. And yeah, I would love if everyone would take a look at Brittney's Instagram and the links that we have below for socials and stilettos. Download that remix template so that you can test this out for yourself. And Brittney, it has been a blast. Is there any parting words you would like to leave for our audience before we take off today?
I just want to say thank you, Val. You were so amazing, such a great host. And I couldn't be more excited to be back with you all tomorrow, because we're going to be
Yes.
talking about shoppable Instagram stories. So if you
Oh
are wanting to
yeah.
boost conversions, that one's going
Mhm.
to be for you.
Alrighty. Well, I'm so thrilled. We will see you tomorrow. But for all of you in the chat, please stick around because we have more awesome design stuff coming up on Adobe Live after this. So yeah, chill around, have a good design day, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Adios, everybody.